Get in, nerds. We are explaining Hearts of Iron 4. Today I want to talk a little bit about diplomacy. What you can do in Hearts of Iron 4, how you can use diplomacy to do it, and all that. So, this is the diplomacy screen. There should be a bunch more of these here. Hold on, let me see if I got a bigger list for my ally. Anyway, it's not perfect. I think some of them vanish under particular circumstances. I know I've had scroll bars here on occasion. I think this is going to get me the most options here. So I'm just going to, because basically anything you have already done will disappear from here. So I'm just going to take you through these from top to bottom. Declare war. This makes you at war with a country. If you declare war on someone else, that's an offensive war for you and a defensive war for them, which is generally better for them, war support-wise. If they declare on you, it's a defensive war for you, which is good for your war support. In order to declare a war in Hearts of Iron 4, you need to have a war goal, and you need to have a justification for that war goal. In order to do that, you can justify a war goal. Depending on what ideology you are, you'll have some restrictions here. For example, monarchist countries can only justify a war goal at, I think, 40 or higher % world tension. Democracies can only do so at, I think, 80, and only against countries that have themselves generated world tension. So it's an interesting setup. You can only really get aggressive if you're communist or fascist, or the world is already reasonably tense. Next is guarantee independence. Guarantee independence costs 25 political power. Oh, by the way, justify war goal doesn't have a political power cost listed here. It's going to cost political power depending on what the war goal is. Generally speaking, it's to conquer a state, and depending on how long, how big the state is, and how great, what size power you are compared to them, whether you're a major or not, and whether they're a major, it's going to cost more and it's going to take more time. Fascist countries justify war goals faster when they're already at war by a crazy amount. It's like 80%. It's bananas. Sorry, not 80% faster. It's like 400% faster. They have like 80% reduced time. So if you're fascist and you're already in a war, feel free to get into as many wars as you want, justifying it's really fast. Next is guarantee independence. This costs 25 political power plus 25 political power for every other nation you also have guaranteed. Basically, in order to guarantee independence in another country, you need them to not be at war, and not be in a different faction from you. If you're in a faction, I'll explain how factions work. I'll probably try to get to it at the end of this episode. We'll see. If they get declared on by someone else, they get pulled into your faction, and you get pulled into their war. That's how guarantee independence works. It's, in my experience, it's a little weird and buggy. Sometimes it works really well, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what it does. Military access, you can ask for and offer it. This is just lets you move troops through the other person's territory. If you have military, if you're giving it, that lets them move troops through your territory. If you're getting it, that lets you move troops through their territory. Docking rights is the same for ships. It lets you dock ships at their ports or them dock ships at yours. By the way, just to give you a visual to it, this is the they're not going to say yes button. This is the they're going to say yes button. And it's going to give you a little bit of a breakdown of what the factors are involved here. In my case, it's just base reluctance. I haven't done anything to make them want military access from me. Improving relations costs political power over time. It's going to cost more if you're different ideologies than the country. It's going to slowly bring up to a plus 100 bonus to relations here. Their opinion towards you specifically. It's useful for certain functions in the game, but the primary thing that it does is you can use improving relations to get the AI to treat you better in certain circumstances. It definitely affects the AI's ability to do stuff. Next is send attaché. This allocates 50 command power and costs 100 political power once. An attaché will give you 20%. It'll give them 2% organization bonus for all their divisions. It will also give you, I think, 20% of the air, naval, and ground experience that their armies earn. It's a way to get some experience if another country is at war and you're not. So attachés are very costly, but they can be very powerful as a result of that. Non-aggression pact is a pact that you sign with another country to get them to not get into a fight with you. As you can see here, you can break a non-aggression pact if you have troops along your common border. But how many troops you need depends on how long it's been since you've signed the pact. Non-aggression pacts are going to do things like wall off justifications for war, and when you dissolve a non-aggression pact, you have, like, I think, a 6-month truce. Negotiate licenses. This lets you look at what equipment they've got and see if you can, if there's anything you want to license to produce yourself for your own use or for someone else's use. Some interesting uses for this. Lend-lease is a very interesting historical artifact here. This lets you basically give equipment to another country. So you bring up the Lend-lease menu. Actually, let me bring up the license equipment menu first. They're going to accept. I'm going to unpause here, so they said yes. Pause back again here. And now I can request license productions. This is going to show me a list of all items that they have that I can license. You're going to see the out-of-date indicators behind things that are out of date back here. Interestingly, it looks like they do not have the current infantry equipment, which I already do have. That's interesting, the 1942 infantry equipment. They got a better armored car than I got, though, which is fine, because I don't use armor cars. They also got better artillery than I've got. So, if I want to license, like, these... What? America, are you not building tanks? America, you need to build tanks. What's going on with you? You're in a war. For Pete's sake, you're in a war. You've got war economy. You need to build tanks, America. America! Don't do this to yourself. You're killing me. Alright, well, apparently America's not building tanks so good. Not building planes so good either. Come on, please show me a 1940 airframe. Please show me a 1940 airframe. Oh god. Alright, here we go. We got... They don't change the icons, but this is a 1940. It's improved. It's a modern fighter. I can't really see what it does, although I can see its stats. 29.7 air attack, that's not bad. 80% reliability. 48 agility. Interesting. So you can see all the options for licensing over here. You got a no, not going to go through that. And then over here you can license ship designs as well. There's a whole bunch. Ooh, floating harbors, cool. I'm going to give it some time to get... You can't do more than one diplomatic thing with someone in a 24-hour period. So next there's start Lend-lease. This lets you give stuff to other people. So suppose I want to lend America some fuel. America doesn't need it, but I can still offer it. I can do daily. I can do a percentage of my daily gain. I can do a one-time bonus of all of my fuel. That's how that works. And then for equipment, I can do... I think infantry equipment will go in units of 10. Everything goes in units of 10. Even tanks? Hold on. What if I put in mechanized? Yeah, mechanized goes in increments of 10 as well. You can do shift to do it in 50s. Control to do it in... I thought there was another way to do a larger amount, but I think it's just shift in 50s. Once again, you can do that. You can get your percentage of monthly production. If you want, you just give a bunch one time. A bunch one time is very common for convoys, the only type of naval equipment you can lend. And then you can give them armor or planes as well. So this lets you bankroll another country's war if they're at war with someone you are not at war with but would like to be, but can't join their faction for some reason. You do get experience when your equipment is used in warfare. You can request Lend-lease if you're at war, and you can only do this with countries that are at war or countries that are your puppets. You can request Lend-lease if you're at war, and they will often, particularly the United States, will often Lend-lease to you if you're a democracy. You can embargo somebody. Anyone who's generated more than 15 world tension, you can embargo. I think there might not be a requirement to that if you're not democratic, but for me it's democratic. This stops them from trading with you completely. Send volunteers is a fun little function. You can send a small number of your divisions to their war, if the person they're at war with is not your ally. If you send volunteer divisions to someone else's war, they fight normally, although you need to supply them through ports. So bear that in mind. Wouldn't want to send a country divisions to a landlocked country on another continent. That would be a shame, because they would be unsupplyable, and that would be a big headache. This is an easy way to get experience in the early game if you're fascist or communist. You can send volunteers to, say, the Spanish Civil War, which is something that historically happened. X-Force lets you send, Expeditionary Force, I should say, lets you send divisions to, lets you basically give another country control over your divisions and use their supply network. I find I get a lot of use out of this in multiplayer. If I want to support my friends, but I'm doing my own thing, I can send divisions over to where they are, and then X-Force them to my friend, and they can get manual command over them, so that I can pay attention to what I'm doing. Return Expeditions just pulls Expeditionary Forces back. Last two are Negotiate Market Access. That lets you purchase equipment from their from stuff that they're selling on the international market, or sell to them. And finally, Garrison Support lets, if you're in the same faction as them, it lets you request some of their manpower for supporting your garrisons, which is pretty useful depending on the situation. I think that's basically everything for diplomacy. You'll notice that a bunch of these, you're not going to notice that now because world tension is at 100%, but many of these have world tension limits. Guaranteeing countries requires you to be at like 25%. Most things like volunteering or sending Lend-lease require you to be at a relatively high, like 40 or 50%. Higher if you're a democracy. Lower if you're fascist or communist. That's just kind of how that works. And the other thing I want to draw your attention to is that the diplomatic pressure mission for spies allows you to mitigate that requirement somewhat with respect to another country. So that's something you can use espionage for. Anyway, short and sweet. Went through all the diplomatic stuff. I've had fun. I hope you all have had fun, and I'll see you on the other side.